A monstrous hate blinds Europe. People should not believe everything they see and hear. We are expressing the idea that with the right propaganda, the human race can be easily manipulated. When one takes a step back, it is plain to see how Hitler persuaded the Germans into anti-Semitic thinking. Words are powerful and power is dangerous. Hitler took advantage of the people's ignorance and trusting souls. He manipulated their innocent minds into believing everything he told them. From even young ages, he taught the children to hate the Jews. Hitler tricked the Germans, Jews in Europe through the power of words, persuasion, and deceiving propaganda.
The Hitler Youth drew the attention of millions of ignorant kids that simply wanted fun, camping trips, and games. On April 20th, as a birthday present to Hitler, the lucky boys and girls who met all the requirements of being pure-blood German race and supporting the Nazi ideas and beliefs signed up for the Hitler Youth. The Hitler Youth was not all fun and games, though. Instead, it was shaping up to look like an army. Nazis provided the kids with weapons, uniforms, badges, anything that would draw the attention of kids and help them to join. If you weren't a member of the Hitler Youth, then you were considered an outsider and you were treated awfully. Kids even convinced their parents to become Nazis in order for them to meet all the requirements to be in the Hitler Youth. Hitler eliminated all other youth groups so that he could successfully teach that generation of kids the same outlooks on the world as he had. As the Nazis took power over Germany, they changed the curriculum in the schools so that only Nazi beliefs and ideas were taught to the kids, and that would be all they ever knew and learned. The Hitler Youth continued to gain population, and they had unbelievable power, especially through the schools. The Hitler Youth was taught that violence was the only way to achieve order, and order and obedience were the highest values. If you were independent at all, if you didn't follow Nazi orders, if you didn't have the Nazi beliefs, then you were punished through violence. And the kids thought that this was normal treatment, and they thought that Hitler wanting to raise kids to be in an army and to be violent was okay for them.
The Nazis were constantly reminding the Germans of the war and how the economy crashed. They knew that they needed someone to blame, and Hitler decided to blame the Jews. The Jews were now being described as untrustworthy, vermin, and even dangerous to their country. German propaganda began to pop up everywhere. Jews are scum, Jews are the enemy, and beware of Jews were posted on alleyways, windows, and store signs. Music, art, films, and even theater plays were used to depict the Jews as the most evil and hated people. Besides tricking Germany, the Nazis even lied to everyone. They had some prisoners at camps send postcards home to their families saying that they were in good living conditions and even being treated well. After the Nazis took power, everybody began to be happy again and the economy started to thrive. No one knew that they were being lied to.
So as Germany was thrown into debt and starvation was everywhere, the Jews were the first to feel the blow. They were forced into the ghettos and were dying of hunger, starvation, bad living conditions, and overcrowding. When the time came that the Nazis wanted to proceed in taking the Jews from the ghettos to the concentration camps, they had to use all kinds of lies, tricks, and deceiving propaganda in order for this to happen. They told the Jews that at the camps there would be work for the willing, doctors, better living conditions, and better food. It made sense that a country at war would need a lot of workers, so this further helped the Nazis deceive the Jews. There was a case where they told the Jews that there would be work at a fish factory, but in actuality it was just a concentration camp. The Nazis were horrendous people who would go to no length to capture the Jews for deportations. They would go as far as to promise food to the starving Jews, a promise that was such a dream for the starving Jews that it was unthinkable for them to resist. The fact that a country in desperate need of workers would kill millions of able bodies shows how deep their hate for the Jews really was. So in order for the Nazis to carry out a plan of this magnitude, they enlisted help with the Jewish Council. The Jewish Council were Jews who worked for the Nazis either willingly or against their will, usually because they were blackmailed and their families' lives were on the line. But they had to reach quotas, sometimes as many as 6,000 Jews a day, to be deported. They were the ones that picked them. And this further helped Hitler deceive the Jews by getting the Jews' own people to tell them lies and send them away. So even with all the fakeness and secrets that Hitler used, there were still some Jews who had the notion to hide. And they hid in chimneys, sewers, holes dug in the ground. They weren't very picky. But the Nazis were bloodthirsty and were dead set on finding every last Jew, so more often than not, they were captured. So basically, the Jews were incredibly smart and brave people, and they should be remembered that way.